for Wonder Woman 1984. I'm Little Eddie O'Hare, aspiring professional fanboy.
And I'm Sara Netzley, desperately trying to match the vibe you're bringing to this today.
Oh, welcome to the DC Movie Report, part of the DC TV Report. This is only the second DC movie we've gotten to critique this year. The last was Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. We've had a long wait for this movie. It was originally supposed to come out in the summer, and we get it on Christmas Day. And we have to share it in theaters with HBO Max on day and date. I saw it at a movie theater with our
And
executive producer, Bill Sweeney.
I saw it at home, so I'm really curious if our reactions to it have anything to do with where we saw it also. You know?
Yes. Yeah. And we will give a brief non-spoiler review of just general impressions before we get into the nitty-gritty. But Sarah, I think the best place to start, and I think this will give my general feeling on this movie. I'm going to ask you a question, and that is, are we sure Joel Schumacher is dead?
Dang, that's dark. Yeah.
Sorry.
So, I really wanted to love this movie, and I liked this movie. Yeah. So I'm actually really interested because I don't know, Ed, but usually we talk a little more about these things before we record. I truly don't know what you think about this movie.
Well, I think there are things to like. And but I think overall it's very scatterbrained. While the story makes sense,
Does it?
it feels very patched together, and there are a lot of very loose explanations that don't feel very satisfying. I think Gal Gadot is great. I think she's amazing. I think all of the stuff that harkens back to her on Themyscira and her legacy, I think that's all interesting. But the villains in this and the main thrust of the story feel very forced. And there are a lot of elements in this that feel camp and feel forced. And I would say that somewhere along the line, this production lost the verisimilitude. And it felt like they were playing tongue in cheek instead of trying to play it straight. And there's some people who are going to enjoy that, but it's not really what I look for in a superhero movie.
I think if you like Wonder Woman, and if you like Diana Prince, and if you like Gal Gadot's performance in both of those roles, you're gonna like the movie just fine. You might be frustrated with it, but there's enough to like in it that you will enjoy it. That's very much where I landed. I love how Gal Gadot plays Wonder Woman and Diana, and I would watch her in pretty much anything. And there's enough of that joy and that goodness and that, the athleticism and the toughness, all of it that makes it worth watching for me. So, a Wonder Woman movie is always going to be something I enjoy some parts of. And in this case, I'm with you. The villains didn't quite. I don't understand how a 2.5 hour movie did such a lazy job of advancing the Kristen Wiig character arc. I don't understand how you had all this time and it was like overnight she adopted the evil eyeliner of evil and that was it. So the opening sequence was kind of sluggish and campy, and I don't. I really, really wanted to like this, and I don't know. Again, I was curious if me being at home and so having a little bit more distraction from second screen, life happening around me versus in a
Mhm.
theater in the dark, just me in the movie, if that made a difference. But it sounds like we kind of came away with a similar critique, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Bill Sweeney, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, did text me his blurb, which was good, not great,
Hmm.
a solid B. But there was one point about three quarters of the way through the movie where I kind of like tapped him on the shoulder. When Bill, is this movie bad? And he just went, "It's rough. It's rough." And
Good Bill impression.
yeah.
The opening sequence. Okay, are we? Should we get into spoilers? Does that?
Yeah.
Well,
I
before we
think
do
I
that,
think generally, yeah, I would say, um, if you're a diehard Wonder Woman fan, go see this. Um, I think it's something that fans of the comic and fans of the character will probably enjoy. Um, but I don't think there's crossover here for non superhero fans. And I think there's a lot of other stuff out there that can turn people onto the genre.
I was going to say when you said the other movie we did this year was Birds of Prey, I was bursting with joy to talk about that movie with you because I loved it so much. And this, there's a lot of stuff I can say that I liked quite a bit in this movie, but I'm not bursting with joy to tell people to go see this movie the way I was with Birds of Prey. So that, to me, that's the difference. But oh my God, to be able to say there were two female led movies in the DC universe that came out this year, and I can say this one was better than this one. That's amazing to me because I mean, how often have we had choice in female superheroes like that? So that's incredible to me. Um I thought Kristen Wiig, I mean, her casting initially was kind of eyebrow raising because, she's an SNL actress. I thought she did fine. I actually, some of my favorite parts were the Kristen Wiig parts, and we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. Pedro Pascal was great. I mean, great energy and very big character that he fully committed to. It didn't make a lick of sense to me by the end of it, but the performances were all very good. It's just so much. Chris Pine's eyes are such a piercing blue that they are not real to me. And he was also very good and very confusing in this movie. So I don't know. I mean, definitely watch it, but just understand that it's likable characters played by likable actors and kind of a big old mess of a script, I would say. Eh.
Yeah, yeah. I think that sums it up perfectly. All right, let's jump into spoilers.
All right.
um,
Spoiler alert. I'm sorry, my spoiler horn is terrible. I need to work on that. All right.
yeah, yeah. So the brief way that I summarized this movie, um, I didn't write a general recap, but there were the main storylines were Diana wished for Steve, Miranda wished to be Diana, and Max wished to be the Wishing Stone. And our last minute reveal was that Linda Carter cameo.
I didn't see it coming. I was very excited.
So where do you want to start first? Which of those four things do you want to touch? Do you want to get Linda Carter out of the way, or do you want to dive in and save that for later?
Yeah, let's get Linda Carter out of the way because that was actually one of the elements that I found the most frustrating. The golden armor felt incredibly shoehorned in to have a moment of comic book fan service.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Okay,
was like
all right. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it was cool. It was great, but it was just like, oh, here's this armor we've never mentioned before. I do not understand. Did she go home and get it before? Like what? What?
yeah, yeah. That was yeah. They were cutting so fast, and it makes no sense for her to go all the way back to her apartment, grab that,
The
and then.
only way it would have made sense is if she was still without her powers, I think.
Mhm.
If she was still depowering and she was like, ooh, I really need good armor for this, that would make sense. And it was a great moment that we saw in every single trailer of her shrugging off those wings. great visual. But to introduce this story, which I thought was really moving, this story about this ancient warrior who sacrificed herself
Mhm.
to save her sisters from men. Oh my god, it's amazing. But it was there for that fan moment that didn't make a ton of sense. I don't know.
Mhm.
But hey, I can't argue with anything that gives us more Linda Carter, because that woman is magnetic and fabulous.
Yeah, I would say Linda Carter deserved better. I really felt like she just showed up the day they told her to come, and they forgot they'd ask her to be in the movie, and they were just like, "All right, what what's the
Got to come
last
up with
set?
something.
Yeah, what's the last set we used? What's still standing? Okay, all right, all right, we got that. All right, that cheap flimsy street set. All right, let's just have something fall down, and she catches it. All right, okay.
Well, and I do wonder if is that being set up for some kind of, like, if this was
No, 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 no,
Marvel.
no,
Now, if
no.
this was Marvel, I fully would expect that character to have a Disney Plus spinoff announced within a week, right?
Yeah,
Because they're
yeah,
just giving everybody spinoffs in the Mandalorian universe. But it's not quite. So I don't know what they want to do with that character and that story.
yeah, yeah. No,
A
no,
movie, a
and
show, nothing? Who knows?
no, 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 and just that scene was so filled with cheese. Like, just you know what I mean? It just felt so ugh. Like that's what I mean. Like this felt like what a Wonder Woman movie would have been like if they'd made it in 1984. This had like it felt very 90s superhero to me.
Huh.
There's no connection um to to the outside universe. There's no it's very much we're not thinking about a sequel. We're just trying to put up a formula. We know that we have to have these elements. There's no real strong connections to the source material. It's like, okay, we have this Wonder Woman character and we have these bad guys. So let's just find a loose reason for them to interact and just not have any cohesion between the performances. You know? like
Yeah.
like Pedro Pascal, it's not as bad as like Tommy Lee Jones and Batman Forever, but it very much looked like he had no direction to take on his approach to that character.
Oh, contraire. His direction was Donald Trump in the 80s. And you can see it kind of, but it just all I just don't understand. I don't know. What's gonna stick with me is that bloody eye. Like that's what I
Mm.
went to bed thinking about. Was God, that was really gross.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I didn't sense any, you know, I feel like they should have taken Max because it's also like that is not his character from the comics. Max Lord is a very well put together guy, and there's no like mystical element. He just has some light persuasive mental powers, you know. And he's always looking for an angle. He's looking for an angle to work his way into. He's the financial backer for the Justice League in the late '80s. Kind of. And then eventually it gets to the point where he's running checkmate and becomes too big for his own britches, and Wonder Woman ends up killing him in like around 2005 after he kills Blue Beetle, Ted Cord. So there's a real like evil genius quality to him. This kind of more of a huckster, but like he's much more sinister. He could be much more sinister, and he sort of toes the line between like, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Um, and to me, it's more like they took that name and put it onto a different character.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like if you'd excised him and just made this straight up Wonder Woman versus Cheetah, it would have been much more interesting.
Yeah, I don't love this is the second Wonder Woman movie, and in both cases there was a minor woman villain and then a major male villain. Just let Wonder Woman fight Cheetah. Like, why did
Yeah.
we need to have all of that? And I don't.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because they didn't get the cheetah effects right, which you could tell because they hit it by having them fight her at night. And basically cloud up, because this is whenever you have a main fight at night, it's to cover up cheap effects. I'm telling you, that's why Zack Snyder stuff, all of that, it's just dark and gloomy and you can't really see anything.
Yeah, so not only was it at night, but it was underwater at night. So
Yeah.
and she did really look like the first screen test of the cats from Cats. Like, oh, this is not going to work. No, we need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
But that's what they went with for Cheetah. And I do not understand. I don't know what Cheetah's story is in the comics, but how do you get from I don't want to be like anybody, I want to be apex predator, to I now have cat makeup on my face? I don't understand that evolution. I do not get how that wish evolved into that. It didn't
Hmm.
make any sense to me. The thing is that some of the stuff, Barbara kicking her attacker down the street, her harasser, not attacker, her harasser down the street like that, I actually really liked that. I really liked that, the rage and the I'm not going to take that anymore, and the kind of claiming of her own power. That was great. I felt like it happened really quickly, and it had to be explained to me. Oh, it's a monkey's paw. You're losing your humanity. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
That wasn't clear to me in the way the narrative was set up. It actually had to be spelled out. But there were some interesting things there about Barbara. But then when she gets to the, like, you had everything and people like me had nothing. What do you mean? You were just a mousy weirdo. Like, I don't know. How did they do such bad character work with all this screen time to work with? I don't understand. And maybe if we didn't have Max, we could have had more of an evolution that would have made more sense. That would have been really interesting to see different kinds of ways of being women in the world in 1984. And how do we deal with those pressures? And how does it put women in conflict with each other? That could have been great. Why didn't we get that? Pedro
Yeah,
Pascal was
yeah.
great. We didn't need him.
Yeah, and you briefly touched on one thing, and I know this is a hard place for me to come from, but um I thought, like, the whole thing with her attacker, I thought that was fine, but the fact that this movie turned every man who comes in contact with another woman into a slobbering, sleazy goon, I found offensive.
Yeah.
I understand that there are people like that in the world, but they're usually much more subtle than that. And the fact that they're aside from Steve Trevor, who's been dead for 70 years, there didn't seem to be any other example of an upstanding guy.
That
Um,
nice homeless guy and Steve Trevor's taken over body, which I also have thoughts on, are
mhm.
the two that come to mind. And I give it a slight pass at that party, because I think the point there was everybody wants, everybody is after Diana and calling her name, and so she's had it when Steve shows up. So I get why they did that for that one scene, even though it was kind of obnoxious and over the top. But I do agree, the street harasser guy, like, did those I don't know. I've lived a very lucky life because I've not had to deal with guys like that all the time. So I agree, it was clunky. It was clunky.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about how Diana knew Steve for like 2 weeks 70 years ago. And don't get me wrong, Steve looks like Chris Pine. So I get it. I get the attraction there. And then all of her life has been sad for 70 years. She's just been sad and saving people and having this amazing job at the Smithsonian, but just been sad. That's awful. That's an awful story. Oh my god. That's so depressing. Why? I understand. That's I don't know that that's romance. That, to me, that feels like
Mhm.
stuck in grief. Oh my god, see a counselor. Like, you can Steve looked great, but you have been mourning him for what is the ratio of time that you knew him to the ratio of time that you've been mourning him? It is way out of whack. And I know you're immortal, and so 70 years is probably nothing. But the message that sends, I don't know. Also, Steve took over that guy's body. Why did they not have a little bit more of a conversation about the ethics of that? That poor, where did that guy go? Does he
What?
know? Did he come back? Did he get fired because he just didn't show up to work?
Well, this only happened over a couple of days.
And it was a chaotic couple days. I assume everybody has an
Yeah,
excuse for that.
yeah, yeah. And I think everything happened so fast. They were just so happy to be together, that they just immediately hop into bed and damn the consequences. And yeah. I mean, there's certain like but this is the same kind of thing where like I can't say that to me I felt like everything was explained, but nothing in a satisfying way
Yes,
in
none
terms
of it
of
to where
elements of
it
the
made
story.
sense. They had
Hmm.
explanations for everything, but when
Yeah.
Diana's just like, "I renounce my wish," does it work like that? How did you know it would work like that? How?
Yeah. Well, no, but that's what Patel told her. Like
Oh,
they
okay,
had to.
fair, fair.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of this is also Zack Snyder establishing in Batman vs Superman that she disappeared for 70 years. So they're locked into that, even though they're breaking that totally, because she's wearing the costume and saving people at the beginning of the movie. Um,
By the way, I went to that mall. I remember that mall. That Walden Books. I think they put that in there for my husband specifically. He spent most of his youth in a Walden Books, so I did really enjoy that.
yeah, and maybe this isn't fair to compare it directly to Marvel, but Wonder Woman does have a lot of similarities to Captain America in terms of the way that she operates in the DC universe. She's based in DC. Because with Steve Trevor, there's usually a direct link to the to the US government. Um so um I mean, Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie is very very similar to Captain America. In the sense that it's during a major war. It's a period piece. And you could see with like Captain America, the first Avenger. You could almost say they're the same movie, just with different heroes. Um, and this movie, Wonder Woman 1984, is also set in DC, but it is not the Winter Soldier. And would
No.
no. And what's odd is you could do a DC, a good political thriller with Wonder Woman. You could have her working with Steve, directly with the or just saying that she's in contact with the government and they're sending her on missions or and have some of that seeping in. Um but the way they went through this choice, it just feels so ham-fisted. And yeah, and like the fact that she's keeps repeating the theme of the movie like
Which
every
doesn't
15
fit.
minutes.
The
Yeah.
truth thing, the truth and wishes, it didn't quite, it was not organic to me. It felt very, another thing that was kind of shoehorned in. I loved the opening sequence. I didn't give enough credit to that opening sequence.
Mhm.
The anytime you show me women warriors being amazing at what they do, I love it. That opening scene was fantastic. But then in the end, when she's imparting this lesson that she took from that, it just didn't fit the the stuff. It didn't.
Yeah.
Who wrote? Are there not better writers out there that could
Well,
have fixed this?
so there are 5 writing credits on this between 3 people.
Of
Jeff Johns and
course.
Patty Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins on story, and then screenplay by Jeff Johns, Patty Jenkins, and David Callahan. Who's probably the guy that really wrote the movie. Um
Uh-huh.
um and there's probably like another 5 or 6 people who didn't get credit. Just because that's the
And
way
maybe they're
that.
happy about that.
Yeah, it also just that's the way tentpole blockbusters work. Um, so yeah, I don't really know, like that that mall sequence. Like I was half expecting them to run into Schwarzenegger from Commando. Um, And just it was just the attitude of the actors in that scene who were playing the robbers. It felt so Schumacher to me. It felt so much like, oh, like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is set in the era when we were having Superman 3 and the Helen Slater Supergirl. And I feel like this is better than those movies, but it could have fit right into that universe. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Not great, Bob.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it was a lot of weird tones, and of course that section. I get what they were doing with that section in the middle when you have the role reversal, where in the first movie, Steve is trying to keep Diana from wandering into traffic after a baby or whatever, and in this, Diana says, that's a trash can and those are parachute pants. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Did I need all that time watching Steve freak out about an escalator? No. Did I enjoy it? Very much. Would I want to lose that to have a shorter movie?
Mhm.
No, I guess not.
No.
That was fun, but just so many tonal, like you say, the action in the beginning, and then the Steve acquaints himself with the '80s, and it, then we pivot into insane TV press conference, wind power. Everybody says, "I unwish." I just, it was very jerky from this mood to this tone to this vibe, and it was just, it was not cohesive
Mhm.
as much as I like the different parts. And I thought, I have seen and heard from friends who did not super love the invisible jet, didn't love Wonder Woman flying. I liked both of those parts. They used music from the movie Sunshine for that flying part, which it's such a good score. Um, I was very into that because I like the character again, and I like what she stands for, and I thought it was effectively done. If you just didn't think too much about the logistics, especially of the plane. Why was
Yeah.
the cockpit visible but the outside
Oh well, that's a perfect example of that's a great idea. And but when she's explain like I when she's explaining how she does it, it really doesn't feel satisfying. Just the idea of, oh, I've been trying to do this because my father was able to hide Themyscira from the world. And I'm thinking like, did they ever establish that her dad is Zeus? Because like
uh
that's a whole big
yeah, in the
uh
first movie when they're on on the boat,
mm,
she says my mother made me from clay and then Zeus came down, whatever, and Chris Pine
mm.
says, "Neat." I'm pretty sure that establishes Zeus in the first movie,
Yeah, but like
but
that's a bigger deal, and like that's a revelation that when she finds that out in the comics, like shakes her to the core.
oh.
Um
Well, maybe I'm
and
misremembering and they didn't say Zeus in the first movie then.
yeah, I mean they might have said it, but I don't know. Like it, to me it was also like she is woman born of woman, not of man.
Uh-huh.
Originally, like that was like the William Moulton Marston concept, and then later in the comics they make her a daughter of Zeus. And that also adds like a whole big aspect because she's a demigod at that point. Um and it sort of puts her worldview in a different light. Um and like like and it's just because like there's a great Brian Azzarello run from the new 52, um where all of a sudden, um Zeus knocks up a human woman for like the first time in several thousand years, and Diana is in charge is put in charge of protecting this mother while she's carrying the baby. And you have like Hades and all of these other Greek gods coming out of the woodwork to try to steal the kid. And like that could have been an amazing approach. And I feel like the one sin that this takes is it takes all of like the Greek mythology stuff from Wonder Woman that's very interesting and completely puts it aside, um to go for this other, um kind of naive type of wishing storyline. It feels very childish. Um and I think there were a lot of other possibilities. And I hope that if we get a third Wonder Woman movie, that they try to stick closer um, to her Greek mythology roots.
Send her back to the island. See what's going on there. There's gotta
Yeah,
be a better way
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, and and that's also like that's you could have like Amazons versus Atlantis and do like a Wonder Woman Aquaman crossover that could be epic, you know?
That sounds expensive and badly done with the CGI.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and that's also the weakest part. There a lot of the effects here are very choppy. Um
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I'm
Also, they
sorry that
really leaned into the lasso.
yeah, yes. Oh yeah, yes, this was the big point that I wanted to make. Where at a certain point Wonder Woman is not enough. We need to turn her into Spider-Man with the lasso that's it, however long you need it to be. That's in completely varying lengths. And she's flying around like Spider-Man. Then all of a sudden she can fly like Superman, and then begins using the lasso like it's Thor's hammer to like grab lightning and jump across the sky. And then at the end she gets the golden armor and turns into Birdman from the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Um,
Okay, other than Birdman, those are the exact conversations I had with multiple people over the last 24 hours. But yes,
yeah, and it's like, why can't she just be Wonder Woman? You know?
Wonder Woman is enough. Wonder Woman is
Yeah.
very cool. Just let her be cool. Just let Wonder Woman be Wonder Woman. Don't quit making her be all the stuff to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
So
I do wonder why Maxwell Lord's son doesn't ever have adult supervision. Why is that kid always alone? I also love that Peter Pascal only shows up for jobs now where he has to protect a child. That's it.
Yeah.
You got to have some kind of kid for me to protect. That is what I do. It's my brand now. Sometimes the
Yeah.
child is green.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a human boy. But I will protect this child.
Yeah, also this is the third sequel. This is the third number 2 that I've seen him in where he's the heavy. But this is the first of those 3 movies where you know he's the heavy from the outset. Um
What are
and
the other two movies?
I don't want to say it cuz it's a all right, fine, I'll say
Well,
it
it sounds like it
cuz
might be spoilery, but
it's I mean it's sort of spoilery, but Kingsman: The Golden Circle and The Equalizer 2.
I've
Um
seen 50% of those.
mhm. And not 3 of his greatest performances. Just if I were him, I would stop doing the sequels for a while. Um, it's just a shame because he's hit there's these 3 like high profile projects. Um, but yeah, but it's also again they're I feel bad that I'm ragging on this, but there is still a lot of potential here. There are things to like. um Sarah, where do you see this franchise going forward? Do you think we get another Wonder Woman movie?
I I don't know, and I don't know how much it's going to depend on how much it makes and how much it depends on DC's plans, you know?
Well,
I don't know
I
what the
think
earnings are going to look like because, if you're paying your $8 a month or whatever for HBO Max,
mhm.
there's no box office there, so I don't know.
Yeah, you can't go off box office because of the way Warner's has decided to release that. So you can't really trust any of that. So that's out the window. And as far as DC's plans, they've never had a plan. They've never had a plan. They've been completely reactionary through this entire process. So I think it's going to depend on buzz and word of mouth. I'm seeing right now it's a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
Um,
that's a lot higher than I expected, actually.
well, it's 70% positive, but the reviews themselves are mixed.
Yeah, I suppose I
So
would probably give this a fresh tomato if I had to
mhm,
pick a ripeness of tomato because I did
mhm.
enjoy it more than I didn't enjoy it. And like I said, I always am going to enjoy Wonder Woman. and this performance of Wonder Woman and just about everything. I hope the showrunners, I hope Patty Jenkins or DC or whoever is in a position to make decisions listens to people who say, can we go smaller? Can we
Mhm.
do something a little more intimate, a little more character driven, a little less crappy CGI? That would be great. Um, Winter Soldier style, right? Where it's they actually focus on plot, dare I say?
Mhm.
And something just a little smaller would be great for a third movie. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Will they?
Yeah.
Don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if Patty Jenkins steps away if she's just exhausted by this whole process.
Well, she's
And
a Star
then
Wars director now, so
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, and then the question is Gal Gadot going to be willing to work with another director? Um, you know, and who do you bring in? It's an interesting question. I think there's places for them to go. But unfortunately, with DC movies, it never seems to work out exactly how you want it to. So, um, who knows? Maybe we'll have to wait like another decade for another Wonder Woman movie. I hope not. I hope not, but we'll see. Um, all right. So, I guess you could say the consent, and yeah, I guess you could say the consensus between us is disappointed.
oh, we're not
Um,
Kevin Sorbo disappointed.
um, but yeah. This it's good, not great. It there was a lot of potential here. Uh,
I
yeah,
think
and
it's perfectly fine to watch this on your couch because you'll have snacks and
mhm,
comfy blankets and, you know,
yeah. Mhm.
wasn't the worst experience.
Yeah, I mean, I am glad I went to see this in a theater, and just because I'm very down on the future of movie theaters right now, and we'll hopefully the next few months will change that, but it's not looking great right now. And yeah, so that's the yeah. Is there anything more you think we need to say about this movie? Uh, the
I feel bad for that one guy who wished for a coffee. Like he could have gone bigger had he known.
Yes. Yes. All right. All right. So that's the next DC movie that we will be reporting on will be The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad. Directed by James Gunn. And that is currently set to premiere in theaters and on HBO Max in on August 6th, 2021.
Okay, I feel comfortable saying I will see that in theaters because we will have vaccines by then. I'm assuming Illinois will have open theaters by then. So this is a soft commitment that I'm not going to watch that one on my couch. Who am I kidding? It's going to be on HBO Max, and I love my couch. We'll
All
see how it
right.
goes.
All right. Well, that's the DC movie report for Wonder Woman 1984. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare. I'm sorry, I'm at Little Eddie O'Hare.
And I'm at Sarah Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to DCTV at wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and rate and review us. That helps more people find us. Check out our sister show, the Wicked Theory Podcast. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer, Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam!
Shazam!